The four Sephardic synagogues are located in the Jewish quarter of the Old City of Jerusalem. They form a complex which comprises four adjoining synagogues which were built at different periods to accommodate the religious needs of the Sephardic community, each congregation practicing a different rite. Today, most of them are in active use. History. With the closing of the Ramban Synagogue at the command of the Ottoman Sultan in 1589, there ceased to be a Jewish house of prayer in Jerusalem, and the Jews, many of whom were descendants of immigrants who had arrived after the expulsion from Spain in 1492, were forced to pray privately in their own homes. At the beginning of the 17th century, a new synagogue, the Chanin ben Zakai Synagogue, was inaugurated. In 1835, Muhammad Ali, Viceroy of Egypt who ruled Jerusalem at the time, permitted the refurbishment of the synagogues which had been denied since their construction. At the entrance to the Istanbul Synagogue is a plaque commemorating the restoration. After the fall of the Jewish quarter during the 1948 Arab-Israeli War, the synagogues were burnt and desecrated and turned into horse stables. After the Six-Day War, the synagogues were restored by architect Dan Tanai. Chanin ben Zakai Synagogue. According to legend, the Chanin ben Zakai Synagogue, also known as Kahal Kadosh Gadol, stands on the spot of the Beit Midrash of the Tana Rabban Yochanan ben Zakai, who established the Sanhedrin in Yavneh after the destruction of the Second Temple. The current building was constructed at the beginning of the 17th century. A piece of land below street level was chosen for the synagogue in order to conceal the building from the authorities. Meir ben Dov, however, is of the opinion that the sub-street level plot wasn't intentionally chosen, but rather that street level itself was lower at the time and the synagogue had protruded above the street. With time, the dwellings surrounding the synagogue were demolished and new houses were built above them, while the synagogue itself was preserved. This cycle continued until today, resulting in the synagogue being situated below street level. It should nevertheless be noted that if construction was indeed permitted, the building itself had to comply with Muslim restrictions for dhimmi houses of prayer not to be higher than mosques. Located in the old Jewish quarter of Jerusalem, it suffered the same fate as most the synagogues in the area during the 19-year Jordanian occupation after 1948. It has been fully refurbished since Israel gained control of the Old City during the Six-Day War. This work was initiated by Rabbi Meir Yehuda Getz, rabbi of the Western Wall, who also restored the Yeshivat Hamkubalim to its former glory. Istanbul Synagogue. As the Sephardi community of Jerusalem grew, a large group of immigrants arrived from Istanbul, Turkey, who used the adjacent building as a synagogue from 1764. Over time, the Istanbul Synagogue attracted worshippers from the eastern communities, including Kurdistan, and from North and West Africa. The Hekal dates from the 17th century and was imported from a synagogue which had been destroyed in Ancona, Italy. The Tebba, constructed in the 18th century, came from a synagogue in Pesaro, Italy. The synagogue was renovated in 1836. During the Israel War of Independence, the synagogue was occupied by Arabs. After Israel gained control of the Old City during the Six-Day War, it was renovated. As the Istanbul Synagogue is the largest of the four, it is used for the inauguration of the Sephardic chief rabbi of Israel. Today, the Istanbul Synagogue is used by a Spanish and Portuguese congregation following mostly the London Rite. Eliyahu Hanavi Synagogue. Another synagogue was established in the 16th century and named after Elijah the prophet. This synagogue is the oldest of the four. The Eliyahu Hanavi Synagogue mainly served as a Beth Midrash for Torah study. Also known as Kahal Talmud Torah, it was only used for prayer on festivals. According to legend, the name of the synagogue was given after an event that took place on Yom Kippur, when one person was missing to complete the minyan required for prayer. Out of the blue, a man, unknown to the worshippers, appeared and the service was able to start. The man mysteriously disappeared after the Nila prayer. The people were sure that the man was none other than Elijah the prophet. Untitled Synagogue. The Untitled Synagogue or Middle Synagogue, also known as the Kahal Zion Synagogue, forms the central chamber of the complex. It was originally a courtyard which was probably used as the women's section of the Rabban Yohanan ben Zakai Synagogue. During Sukkot it could be converted into a sukkah for the worshippers. With the growth of the community, it was decided during the middle of the 18th century to roof the yard. It was turned into what is today known as the Middle Synagogue, due to its location in the middle of the other three synagogues.